What's going on, Alabama fans? Back at it again on a Friday. Touchdown, Alabama Magazine. I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith.
And I'm Patrick Dowd.
And folks, this series right here and moving forward, we're going to be updating you guys on the up to the minute final updates on your Crimson Tide this week right here, the home opener against Mercer. So, Pat, we got some updates right here, and it leads off with one Chris Allen, outside linebacker, fractured foot, according to Coach Saban, out for the remainder of the year. But there are some young guys that are going to be looking to make a splash here in this matchup.
Yeah, and Alabama is pretty well equipped to handle the loss of Chris Allen. They got a bunch of talent behind him, leading off with Drew Sanders, a sophomore, five-star recruit. And he got to play a little bit last season and maybe a little bit more of a reserve role. Now he's going to have an opportunity to step up big time like he did against Miami. He had 5 tackles, made a pretty decent impact while he was replacing him mid-game.
Absolutely. And the big thing here, Pat, for Drew Sanders is he now can make his own name. When he came in the 2020 class with Will Anderson, it was always Will and Drew. Drew being next to Will. Now it's Drew's chance to stand alone, make his own name in this situation right here. But also with Sanders, Alabama going to work in Chris Braswell, another 5-star who came in the 2020 class. He has bulked up his frame. He added 20 pounds over the summer, going from 220 to 240. He's going to have a shot. And Dallas Turner, another 5-star who came in this recent class from Fort Lauderdale, Florida at 6'4", 245 pounds. So Nick Saban essentially replacing Chris Allen with 3 5-stars.
I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches for Alabama year in and year out, and all these guys are going to have an opportunity to play this weekend, and it's basically, even though Sanders took a majority of the snaps a week ago, it's still up in the air. It's all about who's going to step up and take advantage of the opportunity that's given to them, and no matter what, it doesn't matter what you did in the past or what your classification or how many stars are next to your name, Nick Saban's always going to choose the best player for the position.
Allen was a fantastic edge rusher, but now this provides an opportunity for somebody else who wants to be opposite Will Anderson and get to the quarterback and drop guys for negative plays and just create that friction, just create those negative plays, those sacks, those tackles for loss, those turnovers that an Alabama defense is known for doing under Coach Saban. But as we look at the secondary here, Pat, here's a chance for Kool-Aid, baby.
Yep.
Kool-Aid McKinstry got the NIL, but also Coach Saban mentioned on his weekly radio show yesterday that this is a moment for Kool-Aid to work himself in here.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's going to be a big opportunity for a lot of young guys to step up and play this weekend. But Kool-Aid's a guy that has a lot of hype around him. He was one of the top recruits from this previous class, and you know, Alabama's always trying to create depth on its roster, and I know Kool-Aid was mentioned all throughout the fall and even in the spring as someone who can possibly contribute.
I mean, he was mentioned everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
In the spring.
Very hyped up player, and now he's going to have an opportunity to shine this weekend against Mercer.
Another guy in the secondary, Pat, and you and I both touched on this prior to coming on. DeMarco Helms, do we see him in this matchup? Of course, did not play against Miami, coming off of an ankle injury. Brian Branch got the start there. Well, not Brian Branch, Malachi Moore got the start there at free safety. Brian Branch played at star, but DeMarco Helms on the depth chart week 1 was listed as the starter at free safety. Coach Saban loves his size, his athleticism, the way he practices, the way he plays the game, especially coming on strong down the stretch last season. Could we see DeMarco in this game?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, you still brought up Brian Branch. What does this mean for him in terms of where he's going to fit into the defense? Because he was a guy who was very versatile. He worked at multiple different positions. He worked at star, he worked at safety, he worked at corner. And with Helms being the starting safety returning, just where does he fit in? Is he going to go back to a reserve role? Is there going to be competition created now with Malachi moving to safety, or is he going to move back to star? It's just going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out.
This just opens up so much depth on the back end because you have so many guys that can play so many roles. Coach Saban is known for cross-training players. He plays guys all over the secondary that he wants you to know every role, from the dime role to the nickel role to the safety role to the corner role. So it's going to be interesting to see where does Brian Branch fit in all of this, because you can't bench him.
No.
He is way too talented to keep him off the field. This is an all-American type of talent, so it will be intriguing to see where Branch fits in this ginormous puzzle here known as the Bama secondary.
Yeah, and I mean, it may not he may not make a huge impact this weekend because they're not facing a super pass-heavy team. But later down the line, when teams throw 50, 40 times a game, I mean, you're going to need a lot of guys who can play in that secondary to make all the coverages.
Absolutely. Now, a small little update here, Pat. Kamar Wheaton, a true freshman running back for the Crimson Tide. Coach Saban did mention on Thursday he sustained an injury. We did not see him against Miami. Was not out there in warm-ups, but the injury not serious. And this will be more so used as a redshirt year for Wheaton anyway. So good news for him, not serious. But he'll be more likely taking that redshirt role here for Alabama. So as we look at now just this matchup, and prior to even this matchup, Pat, Saban very animated on Wednesday, very calculated when he comes off at the media, when he talks to Rat Poison and you guys are hyping us up, you're making us more than what we are, we're trying to get the players focused, the players ain't listening to me, they listen to more of what y'all got to say out there in y'all articles and y'all tweets and whatnot. To me, it's kind of a catch-22 because Saban comes at us for what we put out there, but at the same time, it's when he wants to get a message across to the players, we're the vehicle again.
It's always to the media.
To get the message across to the players. But this is calculated Saban in the sense of it doesn't matter who you're playing. I want your intensity from the moment that ball is kicked off to the moment the clock hits 000.
I mean, it's all about maintaining the championship mentality, right?
Right.
I mean, Alabama, they're coming off a national championship from a year ago where they were just dominant. No one really came close.
It was stupid. It was unholy. The things Bama's offense doing.
There was one game you can point to in terms of the final scoreboard that you can call close, which was the Ole Miss game. And the Alabama's had this a little bit in the past where they come off a championship and they're a little bit flat or maybe come off as lax in terms of Nick Saban's expectations the year after. I mean, I know he brought up 2010 where they went to South Carolina and he described that game as beating the brakes off of them. Or even in 2018 where they just kind of, ran through their whole schedule. It wasn't that difficult. But then once they go up against, equal talent in Clemson, they weren't really prepared for that attack. So it's just, I think he's just trying to have them just keep that sense of urgency about them through the entire season.
And then you can also, Pat, go back to after the 2012 national championship, 2013 and 14, the leadership not quite all the way there. The way Saban would like for it to be, and that's why he went after the leadership group this week saying, hey, guys, take my message and funnel it throughout the entire team. Because if the team is tuning out what I'm saying, I'm going to need you guys, my juniors, my seniors, my graduate guys. Y'all need to step up and funnel this message throughout the entire team so we can have everybody on one accord here.
Yeah, it can't always just be coming from the head coach. It's got to be coming from the players as well, because if they have respect for the older guys on the team, like 2020's team, there's a ton of respect for guys like Landon Dickerson, Devontae Smith, Mac Jones, Leatherwood. There's a bunch of tenured guys there who all commanded respect in that room. So I think Alabama's got to kind of create that kind of same effect this season, and that's what Nick Saban is trying to do in calling out this leadership.
Now, of course, when you look at now this game here, and you're playing against a very unique style of offense, it is the wishbone, it is triple option. You're using like three different backs. I think the main thing is assignment football, right? That's number one. Assignment football, hit your gaps, hit your assignment, make the play. Whoever's got the quarterback, whoever's got the pitch man, the fullback for Alabama's defense, just play assignment football.
Yeah, it's going to be a good test to see who's bought in and really zeroing it, especially on the defensive side of the football. Who's bought in, who's going to be constantly engaged. Because if you're not engaged with the game plan of this week, how can you be relied on through the rest of the season? That's probably what Nick Saban is thinking. And look, like, there's no disrespect to Mercer. This game's not going to be close, but I mean, let's just be honest. When you look at the film, you turn it on for 2 minutes, and the talent is just the disparity is huge, But it's more mentality based in terms of what's going to be evaluated from this game.
Now, offensively, Pat, to me, I think this is a game where you get the starters out early. I mean, you see what Bryce Young can do. You see what Bryce Young can do for the first couple of quarters or so, first couple of series or so. May play the whole first quarter. And then you get him out. You see what Paul Tyson can do. You see what Jalen Milroe can do. Get some confidence for those guys. Same with the running backs and receivers. The offensive line is probably the one group I would say leave starters out there, at least some of them out there, because they've got to get that chemistry. They've got to get that continuity going, because you go to Florida the following week. You have to come back to Tuscaloosa to play Ole Miss October 2nd. Once you get into the meat of that SEC slate and those games matter, you got to have an offensive line that's gelling together.
Yeah, I think they're going to want this offensive line completely gelled by the time they go to Texas A&M and face that defensive line. Very experienced defensive line. And I didn't think the offensive line played all that bad against Miami. Like, I think Nick Saban mentioned it, where they blocked, pass protections better as to what was asked of them in terms of the scheme of the football. So, I mean, I think I would expect the offensive line, the first team offensive line, to be left in there a little bit longer, and I think they're going to be left in whether Bryce Young is in there or Jalen Milroe or Paul Tyson's in there, because they still need to get reps too.
So as we just look at now, Pat, just some players here, just some players that in this game you're looking forward to watching, you're looking forward to seeing, and you're looking forward to thinking about which one of these guys takes the most advantage of an opportunity that's being presented. Who are the guys on your radar?
I mean, Tyson and Milroe. I mean, I know I just mentioned them, but I mean, we have to see these guys. I want to see these guys, throw some passes out there and kind of run the offense, because they really haven't had that much work in terms of the passing game since the spring game. And they as far as we know, it's still a competition to see who's going to be the unquestioned backup quarterback to Bryce Young. So I want to see how they operate in the offense again in live football situations.
Now you're gonna go with the offense there. Me defensively, I want to see this right here. Is Drew Sanders ready? That's my main thing, because he came in, he garnered a lot of conversation, but you still have fans that don't really know Drew Sanders. So this is his chance to say, I came in with Will Anderson, yes, but I can stand alone. This is the big opportunity for Drew Sanders to stand alone. And not just that, I'm going to also throw in a couple of these young receivers. For example, Ajayi Hall had the huge spring game, but we haven't heard anything about him since then. Here's a chance for him to rekindle that flame and get fans excited about, there he is. There's the guy that we saw on A-Day. 4 catches for 72 yards. Coach Saban mentioned that JoJo Earl is Jalen Waddle-like. Do we see more of that, in this matchup in the home opener? So some of these young receivers, Drew Sanders, his chance to stand alone, and also a couple of these other linebackers, the Chris Braswells, the Dallas Turners. Can they take this opportunity? It comes at the expense of your teammate, but you can't control where your opportunity comes from. So can those guys get out there, stand alone, make plays, and get some confidence going heading into the SEC schedule?
And I know, to go back to the outside linebackers, I know Nick Saban would prefer to have one guy raise up above the rest and really take control and own that role, but it doesn't even necessarily have to be one guy that replaces Chris Allen's production, because I don't think that's going to be necessarily possible. Chris Allen was an excellent player. And
he was on the verge of a big year.
Yeah, to ask just one of these guys to step in and kind of be Chris Allen, I think is very unfair. So I think the expectations have to be tempered a little bit in that regard, especially early on. And even ultimately, even if it's just, replacing him by committee, I think that's still something that Alabama would take defensively.
Good point there, Pat. Good point there. So have kind of all three guys be able to make contributions that will be comparable to Chris Allen. That's a good point right there. So as we look at this, Pat, the spread was, 56 points, if I'm not mistaken. So you think Bama covered that 56?
56 is a ton. They're going to win by a ton. They're going to win by a lot. They're going to blow them out. But I think they're going to be a little bit more respectful than winning by 56 plus points. So I'm going to say no. They'll probably win by 48. But it's going to be around it, but not 56.
It's going to be a good game. I think Bama gets the win and Saban gets his point across.
Shocker.
Most definitely. But I don't see the 56 either. But
Yeah.
should still be a good situation to get fans in the stadium, capacity crowd, people back in Bryant-Denny, people back tailgating. I think the players will be more so excited for that than anything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, too. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of fans in the stadium going crazy. Just glad to see that it's getting closer and closer back to being normal.
I'm ready to get my carne asada steak on, baby. Tailgate on me. Tailgate on me right now. But, folks, this is Touchdown Alabama Magazine providing you the updates, up-to-the-minute updates leading into the home opener against Mercer for Saturday. For yours truly, Stephen Smith.
And Patrick Dowd.
We'll see you next week, people.